Good morning.
Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
7:03 on this Wednesday, March 26th. Welcome to the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. That's Ty Tracy, star running back for the New York Giants. We're about to talk about his new teammate. And let's just say there is unlimited possibilities. Ty, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
Just, ain't nothing new with me.
All right, let's get to engage. Well, yesterday, so we're gonna knock on wood, folks, that we don't. Our computer here, we have a great automation system, Arrakis, and it froze. And Ty was basically having to run free safety yesterday, running from studio to studio, and our control rack, we call it the rack room, where all of our equipment is, like the computers and stuff. And I'm trying to stay on the air with the guest. It was a fun day yesterday. We're hoping for a smoother show. We're hoping that you get your normal breaks because we have great sponsors here at the Virginia Talk Radio Network. And if you want to sponsor us, don't be afraid to reach out. You can reach out to me at Trey Lyle VT, and I'll get you in contact with Ed, or you just contact him directly, fastlaneedlane@gmail.com. And you can, sponsor us here because, things cost money.
You know what's funny? The kids at the center gave Ed a nickname.
Can you say it on the air?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
Ed Boy.
Ed Boy?
Where's that from?
Like Ed and Eddie?
Yes.
Okay.
I started laughing. I was like, wait, where y'all get that from?
I'm shocked they know that show.
I was like, where you get that from? It was like, it's like three guys. And I'm like, three guys. It was like, they got the same name, like Ed and Eddie. They're like, yeah, the country guy. I was like, Ralph.
So how do they know Ed and Eddie?
I remember I put it on for one time. They was watching it.
Because I was gonna say there's no way they've seen it just flipping through the channels because it's not on TV anymore. Which, granted, it should be great show. I could run through all the Cartoon Network shows and codename
Kid Next Door.
Yep, and then Cowardly Dog.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yep.
I think the person passed away. The person who wrote the show.
R.I.P.
Yep.
All right, let's get to in case you missed it.
Keeping up with sports 24/7 takes some serious effort, especially when you're sleeping. Don't worry, the morning warm-up stays alert around the clock. Now here is everything you missed last night.
So obviously the coaching carousel keeps turning, and obviously with VCU and Xavier losing their coaches, that means they have to replace their coaches, and they have done so. VCU is targeting Philip Martinelli, Jr. to be their next head coach. Of course, he is the current head coach at Bryant and just led his team to the NCAA tournament. Of course, his dad, Philip Martinelli, is the longtime head coach at St. Joseph's and did have a stint at Michigan as with Juwan Howard, but most notably was the head coach from 1995 to 2019 at St. Joe's, where obviously the A10 connection stands there as well. Speaking of coaches' sons, Xavier expected to hire, and for VCU, quickly, just some early reaction. Their last four coaches, this is a bad comparison because LSU wins the national championship, but LSU's last three coaches, except Brian Kelly, have won the national championship. Les Miles, Nick Saban, and Coach O.
Yeah.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Have all won the national championship. Everyone has won at VCU that has been there. So Shaka, he won. Then you went to Will Wade. He won. Then you went to Mike Rhodes. He won. Then you obviously went to Ryan Odom. He won. So and Phil Martinelli has the pedigree from his family point of view. And obviously he is 43-25 at 2 seasons at Bryant and did lead them to the NCAA tournament this year as a 15 seed against Michigan State. This is my favorite. This next one is maybe my favorite hire of this cycle. Xavier is expected to hire New Mexico's Richard Pitino as its next head coach. Sources confirmed to ESPN. He obviously led the Lobos to back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances and a regular season Mountain West title this past season. We are going to get, in Big East basketball, father versus son. The content of St. John's versus Xavier is going to be so good because you have Rick Pitino versus Richard Pitino. And I think Richard Pitino has done a good job. I mean, he made 2 NCAA tournament appearances at Minnesota. And checks notes, Minnesota basketball, not that great historically. So
Definitely not.
So I think Richard Pitino is actually a really good coach. What he did at New Mexico, he did really good. I like his style. But yeah, I think this is a really good hire for Xavier, replacing Sean Miller. Obviously, they sort of gave Sean Miller a lifeline and hoping they would keep him longer. But Sean Miller wants to finally get the Final Four on his resume, and he's way more likely to get to a Final Four at Texas, especially win a national championship at Texas, just because of the resource allocation. But there you go. So
and plus he if I'm not mistaken, did Minnesota won the NIT championship the first year with him?
They might have. That'd be a long time ago now.
Yeah, I'm not for sure, but I'm not 100% positive. He might. I'm not for sure.
That's a good pull. We can Google it. There's this. So Richard Pitino as a head coach, as I go to, he won the NIT in 2014, which was
his first year, was it?
Second year.
Second year.
Well, he started in 2013, so so it could have been his first year.
Okay.
Dang, Ty, that's a good pull. Dang. But yeah, he's been the head coach at FIU, Minnesota, New Mexico, and then Xavier. But dang. So he replaces Sean Miller, who goes to Texas. All right. NBA news, injury news. Unfortunately, Damian Lillard has suffered deep vein thrombosis. It's the same thing that Victor Wembanyama is dealing with. It's a blood clot. This time it's in his, unlike it was in the shoulder for Wemby. In Dame's, it's his right calf. So Lillard is now on blood thinning medication, which will stabilize the blood clot, and they will continue to monitor it. He's out for an indefinite period because you're not allowed to have contact when you're on blood thinners. Basically, he's probably out for the season at least, and we'll see next season. This just sucks. I mean, as someone who is a big fan of Damian Lillard, like, put it in perspective, like, Damian Lillard is probably on the short list of one of my favorite basketball players to watch, just because what he did in Portland, he was so fun. And maybe the 2K factor of it, I got very good with him in 2K. I would use like when the Trailblazers were the Trailblazers under Dame, like him and CJ, and I got really good with the Trailblazers in NBA 2K. But this sucks for
the Bucks.
For the Bucks too, because you want to see Giannis in a playoff series. You want to see Giannis. Like, now, can the Bucks win a playoff series just by Giannis being Giannis? Yes, but if they want to win the title or get to the finals or get to the East Finals, they would have needed Dame. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen because, no offense, I don't think Kyle Kuzma is going to fill that role. But that just sucks. That honestly just sucks. This could have... I don't know what this means for the Bucks. There's always the Giannis speculation has been surrounding this team for a while now, and we'll see if it stays. But I teased this earlier, so there's a couple of NFL news, and then we're going to get to a transfer portal update, and then an OV update, and then we'll get to some NBA scores from last night as we're doing, in case you missed it here on the morning warm-up. The Giants and Super Bowl winning quarterback Russell Wilson, Richmond native, and Mr. Unlimited. If you don't know that joke, he called him. He decided to give himself that nickname. Please watch the video. Go watch his video of it. He's the 1 year up to 21 million, 10.5 guaranteed. The New York Giants quarterback room, Ty, right now is Russell Wilson,
Jameis
Winston, and as I do the little Italian hand sign, Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito. Someone tweeted it was Darius Butler, who's a former NFL corner. It's like the pregame prayer is going to be epic. It's going to be like 20 minutes because you're going to have Russ give one and then Jameis give one. Someone posed the idea of just doing, so we didn't do this during in case you missed it, but quarterbacks, the second version of Quarterback, the Netflix documentary is coming out, and I think it's Cousins, Jared Goff, and I want to say, who's the third one?
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it was Joe Burrow. And which good 3 choices. You see Kurtz struggle, and then Jared finally, Jared, and then yeah. But someone said just make it the New York Giants quarterback room.
I ain't gonna lie.
I was hoping Jameis, man.
I pick Jameis over Russell as my PA speech. I pick him. I'm sorry.
I think Jameis is if your team's gonna suck, I think Jameis Winston is the best quarterback to have because he will at least, like, if your team sucks, and we're getting off track here. I think Jameis Winston is the perfect tanking quarterback because he'll throw the ball to the other team, but he'll also throw touchdowns. So like the game will be somewhat close, but he'll give it away by throwing interceptions, and it'll be entertaining. Like these bad quarterbacks, like DTR, like for the Browns, like and Jameis and people are like, who got benched for DT? He didn't get benched. The Browns realized, we're gonna win more games than we need with Jameis. We gotta bench him, and they played DTR. But Jameis Winston, he'll provide great quotes. He'll be entertaining. Like, go watch that game in the snow.
That was probably the best NFL moment of all time.
That Monday night game where he was it 2 pick sixes? But it's like he scored 42. So it was like what? He is the most entertaining quarterback, I think, in NFL history. And this is someone who at first, like, I grew to love Jameis Winston. When he was at Florida State, I was like, this dude, like the way he talked, I was like, is this dude dumb? Like, is this dude legit dumb? And then you hear like
he's legit just a funny guy. Like
then as you hear him more and more, you just realize, this is just this dude. Like, this is this character. And shout out to Saquon
Saquon Barkley.
He called Jameis Winston going to the Bucs. He said, what team should I sign for? And he said the Giants need a quarterback. But yeah, so the Giants have Russell. So this, I mean, to me, this signals, well, I don't know what the Browns are going to do at quarterback now. Are they really about to roll out Kenny Pickett?
I mean, I think they should draft Shador Sanders when they got the chance. He definitely a quarterback.
So, and we can talk more about this with Lake next week. We got thrown off with Lake. I felt bad. I think we had a good conversation with Lake.
But I can say this though. Foxbury hired James Winston when he retires football because he made it entertaining the whole Super Bowl week.
I know, right? I think he would be great on TV.
Yes.
I think he would. But you assume Russ is going to start for the Giants right away. Mm-hmm. They're doing their work on Shador. I guess it allows them not have to draft a quarterback this year. Like they could wait till next year, thinking,
or they go wait till a couple of years for Arch Manning.
Well, that would be next year. He's a junior. He's gonna play. Yeah,
he's a sophomore in the field.
He's a redshirt sophomore.
Oh yeah, that's why I was like, well, he's a sophomore in the field, but he can. But I think he'll stay for 2 more years in Texas.
It's like, well, if the Giants have the number 1 pick, where did his uncle go? The Giants, they already have. I'm just saying. Wherever David Cutcliffe goes. All right. That's a Manning's joke. But I mean, Russ is fine. Like,
yeah, I mean,
he's the 4th best quarterback in the division. He is. The Giants are gonna. I think the Giants will be better. They will be better. Like their quarterback play will be better this year.
They probably be 1 play better. Not 1.
They might be better. They're 3-12. They might be like 5-11 or 5 whatever. Yes. I can't do the math. Yeah, 5-11 would be the record. So, like that's how much better they would be. But I just, I don't know. Whoop-dee-dee-da-day. It's the Giants, but it just, I guess it opens up possibilities for them to draft. I don't think they'll draft Abdul Carter because they have Thibodeau and Brian Burns, which, granted, you could never have too many edge rushers, but it does open the door for Travis Hunter to become a Giant. That's what I think. That's what this move does.
That's
So-
probably the
and-
best thing.
And for Russ, Neighbors is way more, or should I phrase it better, is way less volatile than George Pickens. So, all right. Speaking of receivers, Stephon Diggs reached agreement, 3-year, $69 million deal, including $26 million guaranteed with the New England Patriots. Now, this screams overpay, especially for an older receiver coming off a torn ACL. But I'll go back to a couple of these moves. I think this is to give Drake May, who's your rookie quarterback, someone very reliable. And Drake May, let's be clear, who's Drake May's comparison been? Josh Allen. And Josh Allen became his best under Stephon Diggs. And you get a guy like Diggs, like, I don't know if Diggs is a number one wide receiver. Like, it's not like his peak at the end of Minnesota when he first got to Buffalo. But he was still good. I mean, he was good last year with
Texans.
with the Texans, and he said he'll start week 1 of this year. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think he'll be a reliable receiver for Drake May, which is something that he didn't have last year. And if Drake May play as well he did with those pass catchers, I think if New England can get, I don't think they'll draft McMillan out of Arizona because they'll have the 5th pick. It's just too high for him. But if they can get a Matthew Golden, they trade back and get Matthew Golden, or if they get, someone of that ilk, maybe maybe Isaiah Bond, like one of those
speed receivers.
Matthew Golden is maybe the best receiver in this draft. I don't know if he'll be the first receiver drafted, but something like that. Or
and plus, I like what Mike Vrabel doing. He putting a lot of trust in Stephon Diggs because he know that Stephon Diggs can still provide.
Also, the Patriots, I think, are gonna run the ball more this year, and they're gonna play through their defense. They're gonna try to build through their defense.
He trying to bring the old tradition back for the New England Patriots.
Yep, and then transfer portal news in a not shocking move. Elliot Cadeau of North Carolina has entered the portal. Reports on 3 Pete Nakos with the do not contact tag. Not shocking here. There are going to be changes in North Carolina. I think they're getting a GM on the basketball side. And this is a good comparison. It's like what happened with Jeremy Roach, which Tracy Wilson with a great report on, was it Sunday, the Duke game, where she's like, yeah, John Shire basically had the conversation with Jeremy Roach that you don't have a place here. Thank you for your time. And I feel like the same thing happened with Elliot Cadeau at North Carolina. It just wasn't working out. They need changes. And you see that there. All right. In hockey news, we are tracking the greatest goal scorer of all time, having the most goals. Alex Ovechkin. Nets 889. That's hard to say. And is now 6 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record. It was a game-tying goal. However, the Washington Capitals fall 3-2 in overtime to Winnipeg. As for NBA scores, Jimmy Butler returned to the 305 last night to a warm reception, but the Miami Heat finally decided to show up for a basketball game this first time in like 3 months as they defeated the Warriors 112-86. Bam Adebayo, 27-8 in that one. The Charlotte Hornets keep on keeping on, capturing the flag. 111-104, they fall to the Orlando Magic. Speaking of bowl freshman one and dones for the Duke Blue Devils, Paolo Banchero 32-7-6. The Pistons, maybe one of the most fun teams in the NBA because they will play fun basketball or get in a fist fight with you. They defeat the Spurs 122-96. Knicks beat the Mavs 128-113. OGN Knicks had 2 triple doubles, Cat and Josh Hart. Rockets 121, Hawks 114. The Houston Rockets are going to be the 2 seed in the NBA in the Western Conference, folks. Grizzlies 140, Jazz 103, Cavs 112, Trailblazers 111, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are the first to 60 wins this season, and it'll probably just be them, the Cavs, as they defeat the Kings 121-105. And to update you on the Western Conference standings right now, currently the Rockets are the 2 seed, Nuggets are the 3, Grizzlies are the 4, Lakers are the 5, and they are all separated by 3.5 games. So we'll see how that shakes out. As for the East, feels like the top four will remain the same. Actually, the debate will be who's 5, who's 6 between the Bucks and the Pistons, and then the play-in probably going to stay with the Hawks, Magic, Hawks, Magic, Bulls, and Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
So that updates you on the NBA standings. Starting Friday, Ty, I'm rocking an Aaron Judge t-shirt. You know what we'll be giving out? Baseball scores, because baseball's back. Opening day is tomorrow. We'll have Matthew Atkins on tomorrow for the morning warm-up, previewing opening day, previewing the season, giving out some picks.
See, you come with baseball jersey. I might have to come out one now.
I'm going to wear a baseball jersey. I will be wearing a baseball jersey tomorrow.
I still got what's his name jersey when he was with the Texas Rangers before he got traded to the Yankees. Is it Joey Gallo?
You have Joey Gallo jersey?
Yeah, when he was with the Rangers.
He did nothing with the Yankees, so
I know.
His beard, I think, brings him magical powers. But yeah, so coaching changes. They're starting to happen. Ryan Odom's replacement has been found. Sean Miller's replacement has been found. That leads multiple openings in the Big West, the Mountain West, which I guess will be Colorado State's going to the Pac-12, right? I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah, right. Colorado State's going to the Pac-12, and New Mexico is going. I think New Mexico might be staying in the Mountain West. I'm not sure.
No, I think they're going to the Pac-12.
Whatever. These could be Pac-12 schools next year. Who knows? I've given up on following it.
Yeah. It's not the same no more.
So realignment. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna do today in sports history. Can Ty nail it? And then we'll do some talk about the Sweet 16. And then he's joining us, folks. We shouldn't tell him he's in first place in our bracket pool. Bryson Gordon joins us later on here on the Morning World. It is 7:25.
We are making it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years with the best selection, value, finance options, and exceptional service. Plus 900 pre-owned vehicles all in one location. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume. The Used Car Superstore is your one-stop for most makes and models. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Plus, Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is easy on the Motor Mile with finance options for every budget. 900 used vehicles in stock now. More than any other dealer in the area. Hurry in for straightforward pricing and more inventory arriving daily. Why wait? Make it happen at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier family-owned car dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
The Black Rose, Mount Joy, Government Mule, JJ Grant Mofro. Need us to continue? Paul Coffin, the California Honey Drop, Mark and Poe. And that's just a handful of acts performing at Floyd Fest 25 Aurora, July 23rd through 27th at Festival Park in Floyd. Ticket prices increase soon on April 1st. So get your tickets now at FloydFest.com. Winner of the Best Music Festival. Even more acts to be announced soon for Floyd Fest 25 Aurora. So get your tickets now at FloydFest.com or prices increase on April 1st.
Guests are great, except unwanted guests. At Specialty Exterminating, we know the difference. Hi, I'm Sabrina Kennan with Specialty Exterminating. We help you keep unwanted pests out of your home. Now we can keep those reptiles away. Our new reptile repellent is the perfect add-on for your pest prevention service. It's pet and people safe, so it's perfect for any homeowner, especially pool owners and homes in wooded and rural areas. Call us so we can repel the reptiles. Specialty Exterminating, your pest prevention partner since 1979.
When you're voted one of the best plumbers according to Lynchburg Living magazine, you want to hire the best. Sullivan Plumbing wants the best plumbers to join our award-winning team. Do you have a clean driving record? Do you have at least 4 years plumbing experience? Then you're a 5-star recruit, and Sullivan Plumbing would love to meet with you. Take the first step. Call Sullivan Plumbing in downtown Lynchburg or email sullivanplumbing@gmail.com.
When the thrill of playing ball turns into the agony of a broken windshield or car window, contact Apple Auto Glass. Your local auto glass repair shop on Allegheny Avenue in Lynchburg
Apple Auto Glass provide a professional assessment with the honesty from your neighbors, so you can get back to sharing the great moments this season.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us, build with experience, build with quality, build with Right Choice.
BTRN Sports Lynchburg is presented by BNC Sports. They'll pay cash for your valuable trading cards, premium memorabilia, and authentically autographed items. BNC Sports, Riveridge Mall in Lynchburg.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:29, nearly the bottom of the hour here on the morning warm-up. Trey Lyle, Ty Tracy. We'll have Bryson Gordon on in a matter of moments. But first, we have to get to today in sports history, which can Ty keep up his hot start?
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Many doubted we'd ever see it. But here it is. The return to glory.
It's time for Today in Sports History.
Seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
They go length to the court with Archie Diacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Let's hear what Ty really knows about what happened on this day in sports history.
1952, 1979, and 2006 are the years. So we're getting deep. All right, starting in 1952. The national championship took place where Kansas defeated St. John's in the title game. But more importantly, this saw the introduction of what turned out to be the iconic event each year. So it concluded what is the iconic event each year was the national championship. Name that event.
You said 1952. It was iconic.
So it's the national championship between Kansas and St. John's.
Yeah.
That weekend, an iconic event took place. What is that event called? It happens every year. We air it here on the VTRN Sports.
Major League Baseball.
The national championship in basketball.
I thought you saw like I don't worry about the national championship basketball. I was worried about something else that was happening.
What? You want to try a guess again?
Well, the NCAA, not the NCAA championship, but
you're close. I mean, it's part of that.
The Final Four.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah. You know what? I'm not even giving.
I thought it was like so. I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about something.
About baseball.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. That's what I was
NCAA
like,
championship.
Yeah, I was thinking about Major League. That's why I was like, that's what I was thinking about right there.
You know what? I'm not even counting that as a right one for you. All right. 1979 was the 41st NCAA men's basketball championship. So we're staying in college basketball.
Okay.
These two schools played, and this is like a 3-part question.
Mm-hmm.
Who won the game? Name the two teams. And this was the most watched college basketball game of all time. Name the two iconic players that were in that game.
I feel like UCLA was part of it.
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Think about 1970s and 1980s in basketball. Who
was it? Was it Michigan State and what's that school Larry Bird went to? Indiana State.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so you got half of it, and you got one of the players. Who's the other player?
Oh, easy. Come on, now they're calling the Magic for some reason. Matt Johnson.
There we go. All right. So yes. So Michigan State defeated Indiana State 75-64. marking the start of the rivalry between Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. It's the highest rated game in the history of televised college basketball. There you go. I will let you have that one right. So you're 1-1 going into the final question. This school stunned number 1 seed Connecticut 86-84 in overtime, become the first number 11 seed to reach the men's Final Four since LSU did it in 1986. This happened on the state in 2006.
Oh, it's a Virginia team, so
Yes.
it's Northern Virginia. So I'm gonna say George Mason.
There you go. Who is their head coach?
Ooh, that
Hint, he just retired from Miami.
Oh man,
And Ed mentioned him already this week on his show. This doesn't count. I'll give it right.
I can't remember his name, but
It's Jim Larinaga.
okay. But I remember that day for sure because I picked Connecticut to win everything, and I was kind of crying. Upset.
17-8 tie finishes is on his record. But yeah, I could have done how George Mikan dropped 34 in the NIT championship in 1945. And Joe DiMaggio took Ty Cobb's advice and replaced his bat with a 36-ounce one. But I figured you wouldn't know those things. And I did the Bill Walton question yesterday. But
yeah, what the Phil?
On this date, 1973, they won their 7th title. George Foreman, I know we didn't touch on this.
He knocked out
Ken Norton.
Yep.
Do you look at these before it starts?
Nah, some of these I remember and everything. Okay. You got to think about I took a sports history class for my master's, so half of this stuff I remember.
George Foreman obviously has been talked about recently because of his passing.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P. George Foreman, which is his story is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew you weren't. I felt like you weren't gonna get the 1952 one. Trip is like a little tricky.
Because I was thinking about Major League Baseball I was like, oh, the Final Four. But I was thinking about
the Final Four. It was the first. It was the first iteration of the Final Four. Theoretically speaking, they had the Final Four, but they never called it that. It's when they wouldn't have it at one. They wouldn't have the Final Four at one site until 1952.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then obviously everyone remember the most iconic. You could argue the most iconic college basketball game or the most important college basketball game, even was that Michigan State Indiana State game because it led to the Bird Magic rivalry, which led to the 80s of the Celtics and the Lakers, which led to really saving the NBA because the NBA, just imagine a tape delayed NBA finals. Just that is wild to me that the NBA finals was on tape delay. And for the youngins out there, which I guess I'm 27, tape delays is basically they would tape the game and then air it later. It's if everyone was forced to DVR it. So, it's just funny, man. It's kind of crazy to think what happened. All right. We're going to talk to Bryson in a matter of moments. We're going to talk a lot about Liberty's seasons, both on the men's and women's side. It's what's next for them, who they need to replace. I think it's going to be a little bit easier for the women's roster than it is the men's roster. But are they going to attack anyone in the portal? Obviously, they're actually both teams are keeping a lot. A little less on the women's side. There's a good core of seniors on the women's team that they'll have to replace. And how do they attack it? Do they attack it in the portal? Do they attack, or who are they going to be able to keep? And we'll talk with Bryson about that as well. And we'll have to give him some credit. We'll give him 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, to brag that he is in first place in our bracket group. And
hey, it's not over to the Fat Leg Sings.
It's not. You can look at max points, and right now, all of us have a shot except one person, and that's Brian Nolan.
Yeah, he might as well delete the app.
He picks St. John's to win the title, which he's technically beating me right now, but I'm going to gain some points on him as this time goes on. I just need Florida to keep winning.
I about to say that's what I said. Florida's my hope.
That's the bad thing. I'm behind you and Ed, and both of you have Florida winning the title. So I need to I'm kind of screwed. I really am, but oh well. We'll talk more about that. All right, we're gonna go to break. Oh, and we'll well, I will not let him talk about the Red Sox because that garbage franchise. All right, 7:38 here on the morning warm up. We'll be back with Bryson Gordon, newsadvance.com next year on the morning warm up.
We're here with Colt from We Fix Stupid Computers. Colt, to go along with your residential or individual walk-in services that you offer, you also do a lot of business IT support. How about you discuss that, and what specifically do you do to help businesses in the area?
We see a lot of that. Small to medium-sized businesses, they still have their IT projects. They still need resources to help them within their office and for remote users. And so we'll step in and fill in the gap where we do a lot of projects for them, help them manage their resources, their budgets, and get their technology under control.
Colt, how can these people reach out to you to assess their IT needs?
Call us. Our number is 434-525-8590. Our website, wefixstupidcomputers.com. We're on Facebook. And our office is here locally, 14690 Forest Road, right next to Scott's Cabinet on 221.
Guests are great, except unwanted guests. At Specialty Exterminating, we know the difference. Hi, I'm Sabrina Kennan with Specialty Exterminating. We help you keep unwanted pests out of your home. Now we can keep those reptiles away. Our new reptile repellent is the perfect add-on for your pest prevention service. It's pet and people safe, so it's perfect for any homeowner, especially pool owners and homes in wooded and rural areas. Call us so we can repel the reptiles. Specialty Exterminating, your pest prevention partner since 1979.
The feel of the beach is perfect. Relaxing with family and friends. Bonding over memorable meals fresh from the seas. It's a beach experience, and it's in our backyard at 801 Raw Bar in downtown Lynchburg. They're family-owned and family-operated, bringing you that relaxing beach house vibe while you enjoy the freshest seafood from our region, including raw oysters, king crabs, and snow crab. Not really a seafood person? Try their fresh handcrafted burgers, subs, pizza, and salads. Step into the relaxing beach house vibe at 801 Raw Bar on Church Street in downtown Lynchburg.
When you're voted one of the best plumbers according to Lynchburg Living magazine, you want to hire the best. Sullivan Plumbing wants the best plumbers to join our award-winning team. Do you have a clean driving record? Do you have at least 4 years plumbing experience? Then you're a 5-star recruit, and Sullivan Plumbing would love to meet with you. Take the first step. Call Sullivan Plumbing in downtown Lynchburg or email sullivanplumbing@gmail.com.
Welcome to the Villas at Oakwood, offered by Oakwood Villas Retirement Homes, LLC, the best-kept secret in Bedford. Our stunning community offers spacious, one-level modern villas with top-of-the-line amenities. Enjoy a walk through our landscape community, connect with neighbors in our clubhouse, and take in the views of the peaks. Visit thevillas@oakwood.com or contact Robin Lee Sage at 434-238-4477, brokered by Legacy Realty and Development.
Are you a property owner looking to maximize your investment? Tired of the day-to-day hassles of managing your rental properties? Welcome to Brownstone Properties, where we take the stress out of property management. From tenant screening to maintenance and everything in between, we'll ensure your property shines.
Hello there.
Visit brownstoneproperties.com and come by our office, 3720 Old Forest Road in Lynchburg.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:42 on this Wednesday, March 26th. Welcome into the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. Joining me now, as he does every Wednesday during this time, is Bryson Gordon, newsadvance.com. I'm shocked if you're watching on our stream on Facebook at the VTRN Sports Lynchburg Facebook page or VTRN Sports Lynchburg YouTube page. He's not wearing a Red Sox hat. He's wearing, I think, a Masters hat. It is. The Masters is not this weekend. It's next weekend. No, it's 2 weeks away. It's the weekend after the Master or after the Final Four, right?
3 weeks away from this past Sunday. So we are
down the home
so
stretch for the best
I'm right.
Sunday of the NFL's great. Nothing beats Master Sunday.
I'm right. So, and we'll have coverage here on the VTR and Sports radio net. I almost said the radio network, VTR and Sports. I'm getting my names mixed up here at VTRN. We'll have coverage through Westwood One of the Masters, but we'll get to golf later. So we talked about the NCAA tournament being one of the best days of the year. Tomorrow, opening day, one of the best days of the year. Baseball's back. You're unfortunately a Red Sox fan. That sucks.
Very fortunately this year.
If you're new to listening
Finally.
to it, I am a Yankees fan. If you're watching the stream, I'm rocking the True Home Run Kings shirt, Aaron Judge. How optimistic are you about your Red Sox to finish, third again in the AL East, because it's really the third best team?
Yeah, I think those days are done. I think the days of us, getting junk from everybody else in the division and really everybody else in baseball are over. You can make fun of us for a little bit because we got the horses coming. Roman Anthony's coming, Marcelo Meyer's coming, Christian Campbell's already here. I think you're crazy if you don't have a future on the Red Sox to win the division, especially with the injuries. I'm not trying to make fun of the Yankees, but when you look down the roster sheet for the Yankees, everybody but Judge that is high quality for them, and Max Fried, I guess, is hurt or is battling something right now. So it's a tough uphill to climb if you're an already old team to go into the year battling injuries. Not to make fun of the Yankees, but I think it's going to be. I think it's the year the Red Sox get it done.
They still have Aaron Judge, so you feel pretty good.
Yeah, and you're an Aaron. I mean, with all due respect, we've seen Aaron Judge go down. You're an Aaron Judge loss away from maybe being below 500. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah. Well,
let's be real.
I'll take maybe the best hitter in baseball and then the second best player in baseball over anyone. So, and that's my deference to Shohei Ohtani there. All right, let's talk about. Should I let you? By the way, you're first place in our bracket group. Congratulations. So the NCAA tournament's going on, and we mentioned it. But don't worry, Ty and I are here to pass you.
Everybody's gonna pass me with my championship game right now.
Yeah, so well, you still have Houston at least, but yeah, St. John's might hurt you. At least you didn't pick St. John's to win it all, like Brian Nolan did.
Like I said, he need to delete the app.
So
he might as well delete the app.
I thought about it myself. I remember in the before the tournament thinking about who's going to win. You always think about the teams that can't shoot, and you're like, we're never going to pick these teams to win. St. John's can't shoot. I don't know why I picked St. John's to win. I guess I got suckered in by the good story of Rick Pitino going back to the Final Four or the national title game. So never again will I let my emotions.
Do you have him make this Final Four?
He had him in the national championship game.
Oh Lord,
St. John's.
Yeah, I had Rick Pitino in the title game against Houston.
If Gonzaga pulled it out for me against Houston, I would have been big for me. But oh well, we move on. Let's talk about the one tournament game you actually had to quote unquote work on. Well, two of them, but Liberty falls to Oregon 81-52, and we talked about the game on Monday and Tuesday to some degree, but I don't think we need to talk too much about this game specifically. They just didn't shoot the ball well. I think at the end of the day, Oregon's size on the interior was hard for them, but basically they just didn't get to a good start. They didn't shoot the ball well, and it was over before you know it.
Yeah, I think whenever we talked last week about what a recipe for Liberty's win looked like, it was them hitting a couple threes early on, staying in the matchup until late in the game, and it got to tight minutes, and then maybe knocking in a few more there in the final minutes to put it over the top. They never got the ones in the early going. I mean, they were down pretty much from the start. It was 18-2, I think, at one point. It was not pretty, and I think that's kind of the part of basketball that you kind of have to chalk up to, wasn't our night shooting wise. I think that Liberty would have had to do a little bit more. Kind of looking at the way the teams played that night, they would have had to do a little bit more than maybe making 12 or 15 threes. Oregon was really good, and they were going to be tough to stop offensively. I think if Oregon wanted to put up a lot more points than they did, they probably could have, just the way they were getting into their offense pretty easily. I think if you're a Liberty fan, it's tough, right? Everybody wants to be the team that gets the 12-5 upset. There were already a few by the time Liberty had played. So if you're thinking the math on it, it wasn't, if you weren't feeling good about it, but you have to feel good about this team overall, right? You went into the season coming off of, a fourth and fifth place finish in Conference USA, and now you have a team who it was a really fun ride. That Conference USA tournament that's memories that Liberty fans will remember for a long time. When Katie Matheny started going off against Kennesaw, and obviously winning the championship itself in a really deep league, and so. I would look at it as a disappointing year because of how it ended. Of course, you shoot that bad from the 3-point line, you're probably not going to beat, many 16, 15, 14 seeds in the NCAA tournament. So you kind of have to take it as that's kind of what you had to expect was going to happen if you'd shot, 8 of 37 from the 3-point line.
And we're now going to talk about like what's next for this team, but moving to the other side, quickly on the women's game, they fight all the way back to make it a 2-point loss to Kentucky. They were down, I believe, 17 at one point. What does it show about this women's team that just they showed so much fight in that at the end of that game, because it felt like at one point, all right, this is over, Kentucky's controlling it, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's a ball game late.
Yeah, there were so many chances. I mean, you were watching it. You had your VT connections in the game. There were so many different off ramps for Liberty just to kind of fold and take this one into the house and call it a good season. They didn't do that at one point, and it kind of was a microcosm of at least the senior groups. When you think about Jordan Hodges and Bella Smuda and Emma Hess, kind of everything they went through. They've had to fight every single time. They come back each year to get to the NCAA tournament. They finally get it in their senior year. It's interesting enough that it was Emmy Stout, the freshman, who was a big piece of the comeback. She was there in the fourth quarter with Smuda. They were both going off. We wrote about her, in the News in Advance last week, because she's a relatively local girl. She went to Liberty Christian for the final 2 years of her high school career. It was a special comeback, and it was a region. It was a women's pod that, if you watched the Kentucky and Kansas State game a couple days later, it was the talk of the tournament. Liberty's game against Kentucky and then Kentucky's game against Kansas State, in which they lost late. Those are the two best games. Arguably the biggest storylines from the women's tournament aside, until Juju Watkins got hurt. And so it was cool to see Liberty on the big stage and not fold and do what they did. And I think if you're a fan, you saw how much the girls love playing for head coach Kerry Green, and I think that's one of the most exciting things that comes out of that program is that, like I said, there were plenty of chances for them to fold over the weekend last weekend, but they kept it rolling and made a heck of a game out of it. And like you said, they had a chance. They had their chance to tie it up and turn it over there.
Yeah, we can talk about what's next for both the men's and women's team, but I do want to shout out Emmy Stout, who's the fact that a freshman shows up. It's gonna be you got to feel pretty good for the next generation, because you're losing Bella Smoot, obviously. She graduates as one of the most accomplished players on the women's side for Liberty basketball, and gets replaced by Emmy Stout, and that's going to be a good ready up next season. But let's talk about the men's team. Obviously, they retain more than probably you think from this team, but you will lose Talon Peter, you will lose Caden Matheny. It's Magoomer. Is that I'm really how do you put
Javon Moffmer?
Moffmer. Thanks, Ty.
I thought it was Magoomer. Hey.
We had a debate there on the break. It doesn't, I'm not good. And then obviously Gabriel McKay also moving on. And then the portal entries have already started. Kai Yu is entered the portal. Will Gibson
man, they hate that one.
They've entered. Will Gibson has entered the portal, and Bryson Spell has entered the portal. So you said they hate that one. So you can start with Kai. What's next for the men's team in terms of who are they? The guys they're losing, and then the guys that they're gonna have to. Are they gonna attack? How are they gonna attack the portal, or is it high school recruiting? Which is, if that's still a thing in college basketball. Outside of Duke, I don't know, but how are they going to attack these next couple, I guess, of weeks now that the portal's open?
Yeah, it's gonna be a busy offseason again for Richie McKay. He's gonna have to turn this time when he tries to turn things around, not turn things around, but when he tries to retool, he's gonna be doing it from a position of success, which I would argue is a little bit easier to do when you go into the portal and say, hey, I'm coming off of this kind of season and have this kind of success, and now you can kind of picture yourself joining that program. So it's gonna be, I'm sure, a little bit easier for him to recruit off of the season they had. From a high school perspective, they do have 2 signees. I'm not sure if they're gonna be too much involved down the stretch here in the high school group, but yeah, the Caillou loss, people were devastated by that. It's not like he's a huge contributor. I think he played, no more than a few handfuls of minutes. But he was the fan favorite, and anytime he got in the game, the crowd at Liberty Arena, gave him this, WWE level crowd pop. So that they're going to be disappointed in not seeing him around town. But it's going to be an interesting offseason. You mentioned Matheny and the guys that they're losing. There is a little bit of questionableness, I guess, some hairiness on Matheny's status. He does have a year of eligibility. Actually, from his time at Bowling Green, he already went through senior day festivities. He was asked about it, after the loss. What this would mean to be the last time putting on a Liberty uniform. He answered, but he has a year of eligibility, so we're not sure. I guess we're kind of in a wait and see mode with him for the time being. But if you're Liberty and you bring him back with Colin Porter in the backcourt, people have already had a lot of criticisms about that, and so that's something that people are going to have to watch out for. Maybe Caden Matheny makes a decision to move on, and he's had an incredibly successful career here at Liberty. Maybe he wants to just step away. Maybe he wants to come back and make another run at the tournament. So that might be a decision to keep an eye on. But they're going to have to attack these wings. I think is going to be the big issue, because you talked about what was the difference between them in year one in Conference USA and year two in Conference USA. A lot of it comes from the length and the size that they had on the wing positions. And you speak to Javon Moffmer specifically. He was a 6'6" guy who kind of came in, was expected to be a knockdown shooter. He was a pretty good shooter. He got better as the year went along, but his defense is going to be a really big loss for this team. He locked up guys like Jerome Pierre whenever he came to Liberty Arena. He guarded, always guarded one of the two Kennesaw State guards whenever they faced off. So his presence on the defensive end from a matchup perspective will be lost. Obviously, with a guy like Talon Peter, that scoring punch is going to be so hard to replace, especially somebody who did it in the manner that he did it off the bench so efficiently. There's so much you want to be able to replicate in a guy like Talon Peter. So it's going to be a tough offseason. But at this time last year, if you're a Liberty fan, you had no concept, right? There was no idea in your mind of who Talon Peter, Javon Moffmer, and Owen Aquino were. These guys were junior college Division II guys who, when you saw their film for the first time, you were like, man, these guys look pretty good, but we got to see. And then a year from now, Liberty is playing in the NCAA tournament. So it comes with a little bit of trust. I think, if you're a fan of, Liberty and Richie McKay, is kind of hopefully, it's going to be a busy offseason. Hopefully they get some of the pieces that he feels like can complement and make another run. But I wouldn't, it's the era of college basketball now to not get attached to too many guys. And so you saw it over the last couple of days when Liberty fans were disappointed about losing Caillou, even though he never really played. It's just kind of, the nature of the beast right now.
Sorry, now I have the picture of Caillou, like the children's character in my head. But you look at this: Zach Cleveland, Owen Aquino, who are both juniors, both have been real contributors to this team. They provide really good versatility. They're 6'8", 6'7", respectively. They can defend, they can shoot. I think Zach Cleveland looked the best in that game against Oregon, where he made a lot of incredible back cuts, and I think he played pretty well considering what was going on in that game. We talk about, all right, adding these pieces. That's great and all. Like, you add yourself a new guard, you add yourself a new center, like to replace who's leaving. Well, how important is player retention? Like, talking to Rich McKay, I know post game he probably is not going to tell you like, hey, yeah, we have to keep these guys, but it's they obviously haven't entered the portal yet, and I'm not here. I don't know anything. I don't think they will, but how important will be to keep relative, because you still have a pretty decent part of your core of this team that made the NCAA tournament that can come back to this team next season. So how important will be player retention?
Yeah, it's going to be huge, especially in the front court. You mentioned Aquino and Cleveland, how important they are going to be to the team next year, and really how important Cleveland was to this team this year. He didn't really get as much of the shine as he's gotten, at least during this season prior, whenever he was an all-conference guy. He was an all-conference guy this year, but I thought Zach Cleveland was really special to this team this year in the sense that you watched him against Oregon, and he looked like a guy who he stood out on the court between both teams. I mean, his ability to back cut, his ability to make passes, his ability really just be a magnet on offense and attract a lot of attention, something that opened up a lot for the other guys on the Liberty team. And so whenever they finally started getting going against Oregon, I think a lot of it was due to what Cleveland started doing with his back cuts and his player and his movement on the court. Yeah, it's going to be huge. You mentioned with Cleveland specifically, because he looked like Liberty's best player. If you're an opposing coach and you're, doing your job, you're probably going to make a call, right? You're probably going to do some research on a guy like Zach Cleveland, who's 6'7" and who has a little bit of positional versatility, who can play, you can play a big three. You can definitely play at the four. Maybe you could play him at some really small five in some high level basketball. It'd be tough, but I think that there might be some interest in some guys from Liberty, and so what that means is player retention is always the top of the list this time of year, and I think Cleveland would lead that for Liberty. I think Aquino would lead that for Liberty because I think his abilities. I wouldn't say that he was kind of held back in Liberty's offense, but I think Aquino could do a whole lot more. We saw early in the season how offensively talented he was when he was putting up double digits on a regular basis, and so there's some guys who I'm sure would catch the eyes of other coaches, maybe not completely in the power conference level, but maybe even a step up to a higher mid-major level. Not that Liberty's not at that level; they were 12 seed this year, but I think it'd be interesting to see if there's some outside looks at some of these guys for Liberty, and so keeping them around is going to be, I would say, just as important as bringing in new guys, because if you lose a guy like Zach Cleveland, I don't really know how Liberty can replace that in the transfer portal. You can replace, maybe a high quality shooting guard. You can replace, a point guard. I don't think you can replace a guy who is so integral to the team's offense and so integral to what Richie McKay wants to do. And it's really just a great, it appears to be a great teammate in a guy like Zach Cleveland, who everybody on the team seems to love. So retaining guys like that, that's just as important, if not arguably in my opinion, more important than going and getting a high level transfer.
At Bryson Gordon on Twitter, local sports and Liberty Athletics for newsadvance.com. He will be disappointed within 2 weeks of the Boston Red Sox season, but he's glad to join us each week here on the morning warm up. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, but I'll be back every week to bring up the standings as we keep climbing.
We'll see on that. We got plenty to talk about here as the portal opens for Liberty, but also we'll be talking a lot of smack during the baseball season. So thanks so much, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And that will do it for today on the morning warm up. Ty, we had a smooth show.
Yes.
The computer didn't freeze.
I know.
Thank God.
Facts.
Tomorrow, Matt Atkins joins us to talk baseball and possibly Andrew Alex to talk Hokies tomorrow on the morning warm up. Thanks so much for listening to the Morning Warm Up on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM WVGM Lynchburg.